Alright, today basically we're just going to talk about how like religion is like totally brainwashing you and how it's just like enslaving you and shit. Alright, so basically how I see religion is it's a coping mechanism to where like obviously they created it because they were scared of death and they wanted something to believe in, and
Pretty much people are afraid of dying because they're afraid of not existing after. So humans created a way of saying like you're going to a better place after you die so that you don't have to be scared of dying. So it makes some people's lives feel more meaningful, but I think it's more meaningful to say like we're not going to exist after we die. So we really have to appreciate the time that we actually do have instead of looking forward to something eternal, because I don't think that exists. I think it'll be just like before we were born, we'll cease to exist because we're physical beings. We won't exist. We'll cease to exist.
yeah. And I also think that the elites might have like a part in it by saying, you know, if you're a good human, then you'll go on to a good place forever. But in reality, it might just be nothing at all. Just like before we were born, there's nothing at all. We cease to exist. And if you're a bad person in this world, which just is more natural, like whatever bad is, and there's actual chaos, then you know you're gonna go to hell forever. But what if after you're a good person, you look back and you're like, all right, I wish I actually lived my life to the fullest and didn't limit myself by this book that I read that's from thousands of years ago.
That has been translated over probably 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Like, it's been translated so much that everything that's been translated is just a guess because it's just lost in translation. Like, everybody's translating this language into this language into this language, and at some point you're gonna get something that does not translate, and especially through that many languages, you're not really gonna be able to get the full picture of what he was really trying to teach. Because I don't know, I think Jesus did exist, and maybe he did try to teach people to do good things, but I don't think he was the Son of God, or maybe he claimed to be so that he seemed more powerful and more of an idol to these people, but it doesn't really work like that, I don't think.
Yeah. And also I think that you know, all these Christians say like the proof of God is the Bible. That's like saying the proof of Spider-Man is the Spider-Man comics or the Spider-Man movies. It's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
that's not true. You can't, that's not a good evidence source. It's only a good evidence source because it's a long book with lots of pages, with lots of details and metaphors. It's just bullshit, though.
So we both used to be very big Christian believers, like went to church, like that's how we were raised. So it's kind of shoved into our minds from a young age. So I don't know. I don't know how to put this. I think the big thing that put it into perspective for me to really think about is people say that God is an all-knowing, all-seeing being. He knows what has already happened, what will happen. He knows everything. So with this knowledge, we can take it back into the times that sin was first introduced into the world, and we can say, okay, so yeah, maybe they did do what God said to not do. But the bigger picture is God already knew that they were going to commit that sin. God already knew that he cursed the world by putting them there and then saying not to do this, even though he already knew they weren't going to. Same thing with today's life. It's like, kind of like he's creating these people with these problems like cancer and other sicknesses that he knows will exist and he knows will kill people. And he creates people that knows that will never follow him and will eventually go to hell. So it doesn't make much sense to create people that he already knows the outcome of. So he's essentially creating people just to send them to hell. And I don't think I agree with that either.
That's true. And yeah, what about the people who pray to get a good grade on their math test and stuff, and you know it gets granted, but there's kids in Gaza or Yemen or other countries that are starving, like screaming for their parents that are killed, and like their building being destructed. Like, that doesn't make any sense for an all-loving God. God is not all-loving at all. If you put it into perspective, with all the shit that's happening in the world, it's just not realistic.
And I think, I don't know, everybody that has their own god or their own gods always believes with everything in their being that this person is true. But how can you look at somebody with the same strong belief that you have and say that you're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Like, each person, each religion was obviously divided, I don't know, some thousands years, ago. And so they probably all came up with these coping mechanisms to help them deal with life. Or I'm sure it stemmed from one thing, one person having one idea, and all of these religions got blossomed out of it because they didn't agree with the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't think that it would convince people enough, so that they created this other religion.
Yeah.
But also, I think folklore and stuff like that may have played a role in it, just creating these false stories that people maybe take too seriously.
I mean, it probably all stems from one God. A person, probably many people were thinking about it, the one person was like, actually spoke about it in one God, and then all these religions just branched down from it, honestly.
And I think it's sad that one little book that so many of these elders that you're supposed to look up to and that you're supposed to find almost a lot more intelligent than you because they have more life experience than you. But I don't know, I still go to church on Sundays with my girlfriend and my girlfriend's family because that means something to her that I go with her parents. But I look around whenever they're talking and it's almost like it feels culty. Like, I think if everybody was wearing robes, it would seem a lot different. So I don't know, everybody's saying the same thing, praise God, but we should fear him, we should fear his wrath, we should fear that I don't know, that he would do something bad to us. I don't think that's right. I think that a being that we want to look up to is an all-loving being, and a love that's not conditional. And to be quite honest, God's love is not unconditional, because there is conditions to it. If you don't love him back, you're going to hell. So it's not unconditional love. So it's really, I don't know, I say unconditional love is he would love you no matter what you do, even if you didn't believe in him.
And I remember when Aiden told me that he didn't believe in God, it was like my whole world was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. And then only a couple weeks later, from his influence, I didn't believe in God anymore, just because I started thinking and hearing him, and I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. I'm brainwashed. Like, sometimes you just have to come to the conclusion that, okay, like, all this shit from my youth has been, like, just sucked into my brain.
And you also got to think that that's not an easy thing to do. It was just as hard as to believe in something that much bigger than yourself. That's a hard thing to do. So I think it's a hard thing to do to denounce the religion that you've been taught your whole life. To sit there and think maybe what my parents say or what my grandparents say, which are people that we've looked up to our entire life, our elders, maybe they're wrong. And that's a tough thought to follow, because you go to these people for advice, and you go to these people to help, and you see these people as knowledgeable, but then you go to church with them, and it's just it feels like a bunch of sheep. It feels like sheep flocking, and
the sheeple.
That's
what they call it.
It doesn't feel right to me at all. And I think if you can sit there and look at these people while they're being brainwashed and brainwashed into thinking that they're pieces of nothing and that they should be grateful that God would even choose to love them, is really messed up. And I think that's a messed up thing to say to people. And I think that's damaging to self-esteem almost. I mean, it was for me, because you sit there and think, I'm not good enough. I don't think you should be taught that you're not good enough from anybody that truly loves you. And I don't think that's right. To God, you're sinful creatures that are sinful creatures that are just terrible and disgusting, but we're so blessed to have his love and for him to not send us to hell. I'm so grateful that God doesn't. Like, that's a load of fucking bullshit, and I think everybody knows it.
People give everything to God. They give all of their grace to God. They put all of their money in the plate for God. Have you ever seen God? Have you ever met God? You have this small experience of just, it could be nature, it could be anything, just coincidence, and you like, oh my God, I give all the glory to you. That's just enslavement. You're enslaved to your own beliefs. And do you really believe this stuff? Or do you only believe it when, quote unquote, good things happen to you? like, it's a huge thing when you start to realize, okay, maybe God isn't real. I used to think, before Hayden told me he didn't, when I was a Christian, that, okay, I believe in God, and like, I'd have these thoughts like, oh my God, I hate God, and like, and I was like, stop, I'm so sorry, like.
And you're almost brainwashed into thinking that those thoughts are the devil.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that a really convenient thing to say, for the Bible to say any thought that says that God is not real, that's the devil?
Yeah.
That's a very convenient thought for them to keep your minds enslaved and entrapped in this bullshit ass fucking religion. That's, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Same with all the other religions. It could be just limiting you from everything, limiting you from eating certain foods like pork. It's delicious, like just good meats, like natural food that you should be eating, and like, nope, you can't eat it because, like, what? That makes no sense. Why would God put it on earth? It doesn't make any sense at all.
I think the true belief is really believing in ourselves and believing that we can accomplish anything that we want to accomplish in our lives, and that we don't need to have some higher being to humble ourselves, but to remain humble just how we are. You can remain humble without having somebody that you have to love, otherwise you're going to hell, and you're devoting, every single Sunday 4 hours. How much time does that add up that they're just sitting there brainwashing you? I mean, that's got to be, I haven't done the math on it, but a lot of fucking hours in the year.
Yeah.
Because every Sunday, I mean, that's just insane.
And a good example would be like, so when a girl gets her period at maybe 12, 13, it may not be societally, like, accepted in society to start having kids then, because, the economy and everything, and just society in general. But biologically, when you start having menstrual cycles, your body is telling you to have kids. It's very simple and clear. Like, your body is telling you that, and maybe people will be brainwashed enough to think, God's telling me this, but you still have to wait till marriage and all this. But, and also, like, that's just one thing. Like, God can be telling you stuff. Your body is telling you everything. Your body will be telling you everything you need to know. If females are missing their period, they obviously have just horrible health. Like, it can be a whole bunch of different things, really. Your body speaks to you. God doesn't.
And our body and our universe is so filled with probabilities. Our whole universe is probabilities. Us being here on this earth is probability. So I think with that logic, we have to take it in our lives and say there's probability for bad things to happen, and there's also just as much probability for good things to happen. And I think people take that probability of good things to happen, and they give it up, and they say that God did that. And maybe that's humbling. Maybe that's humbling for them, but I say, no, this good thing happened in my life, and I want to be excited about it, and I want to be proud about it. And pride is such a frowned upon thing in the Bible. And I think if my child did something good in sports, I would be proud. I think if I bought a car, I'll be proud of myself. I think if my mom beat cancer, I'll be proud. That's a terrible thing to say, is that you shouldn't be proud about anything, because that's a very unhuman-like thing to do. And for him to say that we should be more godlike is very, it's blatantly fucked up, because we're humans. I mean, we can't be godlike if we're humans. There's no possible way. We are made to be the way that we are.
And I think it's funny that the people who wrote the Bible worded it in a lot of ways specifically to where it covers everything, to where when we have a question, Christians or other religions go, oh, this, like, you could be like, why does this happen? Well, God has a plan for everything. And it makes no sense. A split-second reaction could change that. How does it it's funny how it's worded to where it covers everything.
Yeah, it's like one phrase will cover multiple scenarios of like say your girlfriend gets cancer, but also you get a promotion in your job. Well, those are both things in God's plan. These are both things in God's plan, but I think if a God is planning to give a woman cancer, I don't want to be a part of that God's following at all. And I think if I was a God, I would never do bad things to people that I unconditionally love.
Well, I think that's the end for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and there'll definitely be more and more content coming out, and yeah, just stay tuned.
Also want to give a little pan around of
get
what we're looking at here. This is our little setup. You guys are set up right in the vines. There's a little river down here. Beautiful. We just saw a fish down there. I got a video of that.
Just beautiful nature. You don't give the glory to God, you give it to nature.
Beautiful nature that was put here for who knows why, but we get to enjoy it and we get to appreciate it, and we get to say, you know, we're lucky to be here, but not by the luck of a God.
This is proof of life, like God isn't. This is proof of, just nature and how it started. Like, you can't just say God created this, because that's just an easy saying for lots of questions. But thank you guys.